Hey guys, well, we made some progress here on the Derby truck, and we've got the motor back in and in place. So it was a little bit of an effort, but as you guys remember, I had the motor in the last video pulled out, and just using a drill bit, I was able to drill into the bolts that had snapped off into the block for the engine mounts and extract those. So those came out real nice. I'm thankful that I used some anti-seize on those, so that way those were able to bust loose and they came right out. And then I also took and changed out the ones on the passenger side. So let me go in here and I'll show you exactly what I did for the mount. So if you guys can remember, I think I pointed out in the last video, I built these little stilt features on the motor mount to try to get the motor block higher so I didn't have to actually have the physical motor mount as high off the frame. It just makes it a lot easier to put the motor in and then take it back out. But obviously that didn't work. I had a little bit too much leverage on those bolts, so to speak, and they sheared right off at the block. So we're changing it up and trying something new this year, going back to more of a stock setup, which is taking those brackets, bolting them right up against the block. I used the 1-inch long grade 8 bolts, and then I just cut the motor mounts right off at the frame, and added a spacer. It's about a 1/2 inch to, well, actually it's probably more closer to 1 inch, honestly. And added those in there, welded it all solid, and then yeah, there we are. You know, they're not super pretty, but they are definitely good, strong welds. I was burning through the frame actually when I was welding them in place. So I'm feeling pretty good about those not coming loose on me this year. So we're just trying to beef it up a little bit better than what we've done in the past with this motor. Every year it seems like it wants to bust loose, and I'm yet to have a year running this one that it didn't bust loose, other than the first year where I lost the transmission. So great. But there you go. Got the motor sitting back in. What I've done since then is I've got the transmission bolted in place, I've got the drive shaft back on, and I put on a temporary shifter. So end game of where we go from here is I'm going to take all this stuff that I had tucked up in the firewall, and I'm going to then reroute those and hook it all back up to the motor, so that way that's all good and ready to go. And at that point, hopefully we'll be able to get you guys a video of this thing firing up. I'm not going to bother putting the core support and all that stuff back on until I've had a chance to fire it up and get it running. And I'm actually thinking about getting the thing tuned, taking it to a shop and having somebody else worry about the carburetor, because I have been struggling with this motor. If you guys have watched my videos, it just, after it gets hot, it wants to load up a little bit. And I think part of that's just because I'm not the super expert on carburetors. I get it close, but I'm definitely willing to reach out for some people that know some things that I don't know about some of these older motors that have been around it a lot longer. So I'm going to have some help there, and we'll get this thing tuned up, really running good, because obviously, you know, this thing runs good, but I want it to be able to run good even when I'm repetitively giving it gas and letting off, giving it gas, letting off. It runs great when I'm, you know, just driving it normal, but when we're driving it hard, the thing just wants to load up on me, and can't keep doing that if I'm going to run this thing in a Derby. So that's what we're going to do, and hopefully that video will be coming soon. And before I actually will be able to do a whole lot, I will have to swap out that fuel pump. I'm keeping the mechanical one because it's never let me down, but it did bend. If you guys see, that one hose is kind of bent. It hit the fitting and it bent on the fuel pump, and it leaks ever so slight when I try to start the thing up. So we're going to get that swapped out, because obviously leaking fuel is no good. And I was honestly thinking about swapping it out anyway this year, just because, to be proactive and make sure that it didn't actually take me out. But there you go, guys. There's the update on the Chevy Derby truck. We've got the motor back in, and now we're ready to hook it all back up to get this thing running and moving. And then from there, once it's all running good and tuned up, we'll get the body back on it, do some body work. We got a new tool around the shop back in Toledo, which I think you guys will be excited to see. That'll make bending these things a lot easier. And also get the front bumper on, obviously, and then we'll be good to go. But just rocking and rolling, trying to get this thing back together early this season, so that way I can kind of sit on it and not have to be sweating once the Derby comes for this thing. So there you go, guys, and until the next video, we'll talk to you later.